should we get into it?
Yeah, right.
All right. So now we have episode 3. So I just want to kind of welcome Lockie here, mate. How you going?
Yeah, good, bro. Good, bro. How's lockdown treating you?
Yeah, not too bad, eh? I've got 2 kids, so they always keep you pretty busy, mate. So hopefully they don't come in here anytime soon, but it's all
I'll
good.
get on the episodes, mate. Why not?
But yeah, we thought we'd switch this up a little bit.
Yeah.
Obviously, you've been interviewing me quite a bit recently, but I know not necessarily everyone wants to know about me. They kind of want to understand Lockie Ferguson a bit more. So yeah, mate. So I figured we'd just kind of kick through a couple of questions today.
Sure.
And yeah, we'd just love to have a little bit of an open chat.
Depends what the questions are, but I trust you.
I wouldn't. So no, that's cool, man. Well, I thought we'd start off with obviously kind of with Machineroad. We've been working on it for quite a while now. The application has been built in such a way that obviously has a lot of your knowledge and experience of being a bowler. So, keeping that quite simple and usable has been pretty important. But really, I guess what would be really good to know is just kind of how you go about scouting yourself and potentially how that relates to the app.
Yeah. So I guess when we first initially had conversations, probably right at the start of the app, I think I was going through the process that time of trying to work out the best way to go about playing international cricket. And I found it really challenging when I first came in, the amount of scouting information that we received, sort of like big A2 sheets of data against every team, against certain teams. And I really struggled because there was just so much data and I couldn't work out what was actually good, what was bad. And so it took me about a year or so sort of playing to realize that I needed to go back to my skill set and what we sort of work out as my plan A and work out, okay, so at a very base point, what's the best ball that I bowl that's kind of got me to this level? How do the batters play that? And then try work out a field from that. And that's a starting point. And I think I try to build a lot of my game 60 to 70% of the time I'm doing that and practicing that and nailing that skill, because it's the pretty cliche in cricket, like top of off, slightly shorter maybe for T20s and stuff, but that's still a good ball, So it was really important for me to go away from looking at the other teams, which, as everyone knows in cricket, the conditions change country to country. Players, you might play a player, every second year. Virat Kohli might come to New Zealand every second year. So his game changes throughout that time. So the scouting notes that I received on him 2 years ago would probably be obsolete now. So I went away, scouted myself, worked out my best ball, worked out my best change up, and then practiced the Yorker, which is obviously always pretty crucial. And then I built my game plan around that. And then I just slightly adjusted it depending on the conditions or the player that I was playing against. And that's, I guess, what we talked about in the app, going away from actually looking at the other batters and going, okay, let's get some analytics on ourselves and get an understanding of what we do well and try to, I guess, execute that more.
Yeah, nice, man, because obviously I remember you being very much a spray gun with your bowling. And I know that I know that feeling. I don't think I ever got accurate. So but I also know, like, you didn't learn this sort of stuff kind of straight away, even when you started to do your domestic professional career, right? It took a little bit of time to even understand that and what you needed
For
to
sure.
execute.
Sort of as I said, I was probably a year and a half into my international career, still not really knowing what I do best and trying to work out what that is. And of course, there is an element sometimes as well. Coaches say, you need to swing the ball more, you need to bowl a fuller length. And sometimes it's hard to actually go against coaches and say, well, actually, I think that this is what I do best. So I think it's really crucial. And I talk to young bowlers, I talk to the Auckland Aces, young guys coming through. I think the first port of call is to actually scout yourself. Try get some video of yourself bowling to batters and try work out, okay, you can see which is my good balls, which balls that aren't so good, and actually get an understanding in your head of what that looks like.
Cool. No, that's awesome, mate. Well, I guess the next thing is obviously kind of coming back from a little bit of an injury, going through a bit of rehab. I guess
Yeah.
what would be great to understand is kind of the process of what you've been going through up until this point, and then kind of what the weeks or, hopefully weeks look like kind of moving forward in regards to kind of how you can get yourself back on the pitch.
Yeah, so got the stress fracture, obviously pretty frustrating. I mean, you've got to sort of laugh, otherwise you'll cry sometimes, but it always happens when you're playing well. So obviously had that West Indies series and played really well in that series and was really confident with where my game was at and the pace I was bowling, and then stress fracture comes along. So pretty frustrating because I hadn't had one since I was 17. But yeah, look, these things happen when you're bowling fast and you're sort of pushing the body. So it was important from then. Okay, then I had scans to check out how bad the bone edema was and the stress fracture, which was only a minor one in my L2. But the results you sort of get back, just to sort of fill in people to give an idea, is they gave me a ratio on bone size, and it was at 2.5 when I had the fracture. So you can see that the bone's got quite hot and it's got bigger. And then the scan I had maybe a month ago, that had come down to 1.5 of what would have normally be. So I've got a scan on Friday, and hopefully that comes down again. But 1.5 is normally pretty normal for a fast bowler. So over the last sort of month or two, resting it, make sure that it heals back properly. And then there was a month of me back running. It's important with stress fractures to get some force back into the bone. So slowly, of course, but you need to build up the running, the stresses into the bone. And then, from there, the bone starts to heal, calcify a bit more. And then hopefully about now, I've started back bowling this week. It's pretty much fully healed. And then I can build into it again. And then, so I had my first bowl yesterday. Started at level 1, which is literally just like backyard cricket almost. So it feels a bit silly, I haven't bowled in a while, but I'm supposed to be bowling quick, and I'm just having to be restricted to sort of
to my pace.
To Mitch's pace. Nah, let me bowling quick, mate. Road to 130. But I have to start back from square one, see how the body tracks. I've got another scan on Friday, and then we'll start to push from there. And I think this week will be good. We're going to take you to the nets, Mitch, and do some work with your bowling, but actually just show people what level 1, level 2, level 3 looks like. And then people get some understanding. Viewers will get some understanding of when I show a bowling load plan. They can go, okay, I can see where the level 1, level 2, level 3 is, and building up to be back playing. Fingers crossed, end of March.
Oh, that's exciting, man. Well,
I
know that you've been working pretty hard. So, and I know everyone's probably looking forward to seeing you back out there bowling, eh? So, I'll definitely be keeping a close eye on you, mate. But I think, like you kind of raised a good point, and obviously, kind of, this whole episode's been around obviously trying to help me with my strengthening as well. But it kind of moves into another question: is we've just gone into lockdown. You must be facing the same sort of issues that I am, where you're quite restricted in regards to kind of where you can move and where you can do exercise. Obviously, we're able to go for a run, but it's pretty tough to get down to the gym. So, for myself or for any kind of cricket player out there, like what are some of those key exercises that you could potentially do while you're in lockdown, or that you do that will continue to kind of help keep that strength up? Because I know for example, I definitely don't want to lose all that muscle mass I've put on the last couple of weeks.
Wow. 2 weeks in the gym. Thanks for this fact. Look, I think that's pretty spot on. It's always tough in lockdown. I know New Zealand's been pretty fortunate that we have not had a huge amount of lockdowns, but there's varying ways you can go about it. I mean, it depends if you've got any equipment at home. But Chris Donaldson, our strength and conditioning coach with New Zealand, he often sends us little like workout plans, depending on your situation. But I think I sent through the 100 plan for you, which we normally do 100 of each exercise, then you move on. So it'd be 100 burpees, 100 squats, 100 lunges, 100 Bulgarian squats, 100 press-ups, 100 pull-ups, and so that's not a full chin up. That could be like pull up with your legs on the ground, sort of to a table or something. And then 100 bicycles, 100 crunches, 100 leg lowers. So you should get a bit of a sweat up after that. But I think it's important to realize that you potentially won't get as much strength work done without the ability to lift big weights, but you can still get some work done at home, and just, I guess, keep those muscles firing so that when you get back into the training, you haven't lost too much.
Yeah, man, I'm almost getting a sweat up just like listening to you talk about that, to be honest.
Yeah.
So, but I think what we'll do is I'll see if I can do a bit of a time lapse of me absolutely struggling my way through that, and we'll put that up as a bit of a post to use anyway.
I'd recommend for you, even though you have obviously swollen up in the last few weeks with your big gym programs, I'd recommend maybe just breaking down each exercise, because if you do one exercise 100 times, then it's can be pretty tiresome. So I don't want to break you. You know, I'm very conscious of you being an old man with greys coming through, so I don't want to break you anything more. We're trying to motivate you.
No greys, mate. Come on. Cool. Well, it's probably a good way to kind of segment into, you know, I know a lot of our users and a lot of the community kind of have quite a few questions. I know a lot of people out there, you know, have a lot of questions of yourself and kind of how you go about things. So obviously the first question I kind of wanted to raise is kind of who's the most scariest bowler that you've kind of faced, and what's the key things you've learned from them that you'll put into your own game?
Geez. I faced a few quicks. I think probably the toughest time I had to bat was in my first and only test, which I only lasted sort of a short time in bowling wise, but I had to bat twice, of course, and I faced Pat Cummins, Mitchell Stark with a pink ball under lights, and they were pretty fired up. And I must admit, Pat Cummins that night, I literally could not see the ball. He was running in, and I had a lid man, Wade, next to me. He wasn't saying too much. I think he almost felt sorry for me to a point, but I was just like, all you're thinking is just like, I don't want to get bowled here, so I'm just going to get forward. If he drops it short, I trust my instincts to get under it. And the first ball, literally, I went like step forward to lean into it, and what I thought I was probably leaning into it, and the ball just fizzed past my eye, and I was just like, I did not even see that. And then he bowled the next ball. I was like, surely he's going to pitch this ball up. And so then once again, I was like, okay, just get into the ball, like, you know, be positive. And then went step forward to try go, which probably wasn't a step forward either. And step forward, and then next thing, the ball's straight past my head again. I said, geez, I can't even see this. And then I was like, oh, wow, how good. Like, surely he's going to pitch one up. And then next thing, he's like, oh, I'm going to come round the wicket. And I was like, really, bro? Like, I've not even laid anything on it the first few times. Surely you're not coming round the wicket. And Pat kind of like, it's quite funny with the fast bowlers sort of society. Like, he didn't say anything to me. He probably was like, wow, I've got to do this because Neil Wagner was bombing them all game.
Yeah, exactly.
He had to give it back to us. And obviously, I remember Nathan Lying saying, oh, this is a bit unfair, mate. You can't even, you know, dish it back to us. But he came around the wicket, and I was like, damn it, if he goes short here, I'm just going to try swing. So I tried to swing, and once again, the ball's probably hit the keeper's hands before I even got a bat swing through. So it was just, I couldn't see the ball. Like, I couldn't pick up any cues when he was bowling. He's got one of those actions where the ball gets lost behind his head, and then a quick arm speed, and his action doesn't change that much from a short pitch delivery to a full pitch. He's got this beautiful action. And so certainly that was the most challenging, but not out twice in that innings. So still got red ink next to the name for Test cricket. I'm sure they'll change if I get another opportunity, but certainly pretty happy to have one Test run and not out twice.
Definitely. So you probably hit on Oh, sorry,
I think the learnings. No, you're good. I think learnings from that is just like, I try to work on my action a lot to try to create that extra delay where people can't pick up the ball and can't get a sighter. And I'm fortunate that I have an action that's similar to that. But I do work a lot on trying to hold my action at the top and release out of it as quickly as possible at the end to try and reduce that sort of reaction time for batters, because essentially that's what you're trying to reduce. It's not the speed so much, but just the amount of time the batter has to pick up the ball and make a decision.
Yeah, no, that's very, very interesting, because Yeah, no, I totally understand. I know that you work pretty hard on it, obviously, with a lot of the batsmen within the New Zealand team as well. So that's awesome to hear. I guess kind of in regards to we probably touched on a little bit just earlier in the conversation, but like, who kind of gave you the greatest piece of advice that's really kind of helped set up, obviously, this great career of yours so far?
I don't know about great career. I think you've been kind, but
It's not bad.
thanks, mate. Thanks for saying that. I wrote that down.
I
No,
had to, yeah.
just playing. Well, to be honest, the sort of more formative years I had was when I had Andre Adams as my coach, and I love talking about him because at that stage in my career, I was a massive spray can. Probably you're sort of 23, 24, no real direction of what I wanted to do with my career. Could bowl quick, could obviously bowl a good bumper, but didn't really get that, that understanding of where my best ball was that we sort of spoke about earlier of, okay, I didn't have any idea of where I should be bowling. And I know the top of off's the classic, just bowl top of off. But how do I do that? Every time my natural length would come out short of a length. But Andre, he said like, what do you want to do with your career? And I said, oh, I just want to bowl fast, like Ricky Bobby, I want to go fast. And he said, that's sweet, great. You've obviously got a good skill in that, but he said, you're not going to go any further than here if that's your only focus, because let me tell you, it doesn't matter how quick you bowl when you go to the next level if you're spraying all over the place and not being able to build pressure or not being able to bowl in good areas. So he worked with me a lot on, and so that kind of gave me a bit of a realization that he sort of sucked the ego out of bowling quick and actually put some onus back on me to be like, well, you've got a good skill, but at the moment you're not really executing and you're not doing well. And if you keep going down this path, you'll either get injured early and because you're not putting the work in, or you just won't get any further. And so then we started working with Dre a lot around the feel part of it because I struggled to hit top of off. And when Dre was there coaching me, he would say, you need to hold your action more, you need to do this. But he said to me, look, mate, when you're playing a game, I can't talk to you in the game. So it's important for you to understand the feeling of when your action's good and when the action's not so good. And so that sort of piece of advice, that feel part of bowling, and it's quite hard to sort of articulate and put into words, but I'm sure all bowlers and even yourself, Mitch, when it's like felt right and it clicks.
Mm-hmm.
And it's important to try, I guess, feed that information to your brain as much as possible so that when your bowling action is not feeling as good, you can kind of remember the couple of points that helped you put into that position. And then off the back of that, he said, the important thing about field placements is to put fielders where the ball goes, not to put them where they're supposed to go. So, for instance, I never got catches at third slip, never, because I angle it in, and if it was a thick edge, it would go to gully or it would go to first or second slip or the keeper.
Yep.
So an outswinger, of course, they would have more likely to go to
More
third
slips,
slip.
yeah.
So he said, I don't understand why you ever have a third slip. I've never seen someone take a catch there. So he said, well, but that's cool though. Let's think about like a leg gully or something. Why not? That's where the ball often goes. Guys like get tucked up and it goes down that way. So
Totally.
then he started talking to me more, which is, you get that experience and that growth, but actually understanding, okay, once I've scouted myself, I know what my best ball is. I feel like my action's pretty repeatable and I'm confident that I can put it in the spot. Okay, next plan is to go, where's the ball going to go more likely than not, and put fielders there. And for me, the field placements are very different to a Trent Bowl or a Tim Southey because we all bowl differently, different speeds, different shapes, different bounce rates. And so then the scouting goes further to go, okay, I know when I bowl this ball, the ball often goes here, put a fielder there. And so in T20 cricket, for instance, I now have a short third man, almost like on for the nick, and he's sort of stop and catch. And then I actually have a wider third man because guys will try to slash me off a hard length. And because of the pace, it actually top edges. And we've been finding like quite a lot of catches go there, but also the boundary edge stops it. So it's all learning. Like every year I'm trying to work out more and more about the best fielding positions, but it is really important to, I guess, scout yourself and where the ball might go.
Yeah, a quick shout out to Dre, because I know that he's been doing some fantastic work over at New South Wales recently. So yeah, so
the doctor they
there
call him.
yeah, exactly. That's cool, man. Well, yeah, like we've had a lot of feedback about this question coming in, and it's why don't you hit more sixes instead of just noodling it around all the time? So,
Oh man, yeah, geez, that's a pretty fair point. I don't know, like I guess once again, you listen to coaches and you're like, they tell you, okay, you're batting number 9, 10, whatever. It's important to get the other batter on strike, so you need to learn to get off strike quickly, which makes sense.
yeah.
So then my sort of game plan was to find one, but then of course when you're trying to find one all the time, you lose out on the boundary options because your hands don't get as high. They sort of start low and you're just trying to poke it round. And then more often than not, the field, of course, knows you're trying to get one. So they all come in and then you never get one. So I actually had a conversation with Brendan McCullum, obviously my coach with Kolkata, and we'd been playing golf a few days earlier, and I quite enjoy giving it a rip off the tee, and we're sitting on the beach, and he was like, mate, like, talk to me about your batting. What's going on there? And I was like, I was nervous, started sweating. I was like, Brendan McCullum's talking to me about my batting. And I was like, well, I'm just trying to get singles and stuff. He's like, mate, I saw you smoke it off the tee in golf. Why don't you just do that in cricket? And I was like, well, da da da. He's like, nah, I don't want to hear it, mate. I just want you to just go and tee off and just like practice hitting it, and then more than likely you'll get single because you'll top edge it or chip over the thing. And he says, mate, there's no room for the story. Who cares? So I was like, great. Head coach has given me a full license here to just tee off.
That's so good.
And then so we started working on getting my hands back and high, similar to golf, and then just swinging through. And then, yeah, actually had a couple of good innings off the back of that with Kolkata. Even got my first IPL 6, which I'm immensely proud of, which was high elbow, of course, over cover. I don't think it quite went like that.
First batting award as well. So.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, jeez. Poor old Chris Gale. He got like 80 and smoked at that game, won the game. But then I got the strike rate award because I think I pipped him by about 5 on the strike rate. So I got a bit of a handshake from him after the game. Nice. I think he was laughing at that. But certainly, probably my most proud batting moment is to get the strike rate award over Chris Gale.
100%. That's a big one. Yeah, well, I personally know that you can hit the ball a long way anyway. We've definitely seen it in last man standing. So I'm certainly looking forward to seeing a few more sixes come from you in some of the games coming up for sure.
Bit more cowboy now.
And probably just the last question is, so yeah, your debuts in international cricket aren't great. So you just walk me through a couple of your Aussie debuts and what happened, mate, because probably got one of the worst records in international cricket.
Oh shit from you, mate. Like, I thought we weren't going to talk about this, mate. Happy to talk about it because there's not always highs in cricket. In fact, there's always more lows in my experience in cricket. But Australia debut, both of them. One day debut, which is my first Black Caps game, and then I had a Test debut. Started last year. End of 2019. Mm-hmm. But yeah, one day debut. Obviously pretty excited to be part of the Black Caps squad. Very nervous. Pretty jacked up, young fast bowler. Bowled my first over in the game, super nervous. Felt like I was on clouds. I literally felt like I couldn't run in because I was, so much like excitement, anxiety, and I just wanted to bowl it on the pitch, you kind of thing, just like, please don't spray it,
I know that feeling.
Yeah, and so it was a bizarre feeling. But then, got David Warner chopped on, but still claimed it. And so flying high, I guess. And then I was fielding on the boundary, doing a lot of running. I remember throwing it twice in over BJ Watling's head, like from the boundary, just so jacked up that my throw went like 10 meters over his head, and he's just like shaking his head like, what's going on with this guy, kind of thing. And then obviously didn't hydrate enough for the Australian conditions. It was hot, but not end of the world, but just so anxious, probably dehydrated me. And then I think it was about my 7th over, I started cramping up both calves, both quads.
Did a Mark Richardson?
Yeah. Yeah, I hit the deck rezo quick, but like, oh geez, it was the pits, the feeling, like didn't think I was bowling too bad, but then try to soldier on through another over of bowling. I think I was bowling like late 120s because I was cramping up so much. But
Yeah.
talk about the pits feeling. Anyway, physio runs out when I'm on the deck, body's cramping up, carries me off essentially straight into the ice bath. Certainly pretty emotional, like just gutted. You have those thoughts, oh, this will be my last ever game, like I suck, can't even stay hydrated. Like, what kind of international cricketer can't stay hydrated? Like, forget about getting pumped, like can't even stay hydrated. So yeah, pretty dark little start to the career there, and then we'll quickly move on to the Test debut. I would say more experience with international cricket, and so hydration wasn't an issue on this particular day. But once again, those feelings came back similar to my ODI debut. I'd been working so hard to get into the Test team, and for various reasons hadn't quite had a start. But then, yeah, obviously opened up with a new ball. David Warner pumped me this game through the covers wherever he wanted. Couldn't land it on an area. Was probably too hyped up. Anyway, first spell didn't go well. It's all good. That's cricket.
Yeah.
Came back second spell, much better.
Totally.
Unfortunately, had a drop catch, which happens. And then, yeah, I had a little Achilles sort of niggle, but definitely you could play through it leading up to the game. But then something happened during that game, whether it was the heat or just the intensity of it playing, or potentially me not having played for the last few games. Then I just started to feel my calf tear through and over. Kept trying to bowl through it. I was like, nah, it's just the Achilles. Started tearing longer. Ended up with a 25 centimeter tear through my right calf on day one of a 5-day test match, of which
Pretty
quite
tough,
obviously
yeah.
the bowler's now going to have to bowl my overs. And so then I'm sitting in a moon boot for the next sort of 4 days watching the poor lads just slug it out. And gosh, they did a great job, no complaints ever from that crew. Like, obviously they were gutted that I couldn't play, but there was never any complaints. And it's just a terrible feeling watching your teammates do your work and not being able to do anything about it. But that's part of sport, unfortunately. I wish it had happened later in the test, but yeah, didn't. Went home obviously after that, had another full recovery of rehab on my calf, and haven't really had an opportunity to get back in the team, but still striving for that. So yeah, but I've got probably the worst record as a debutant for world cricket going.
Awesome, man. That's cool. Yeah, well, it's a bit of a shame, but at least it's only onwards and upwards from there anyway. And so we've definitely managed to kind of keep that momentum going, which has been awesome. I guess the last thing, and I know that we kind of carried on for a little bit here. So, but the last thing is, I kind of want to take us a little bit away from the cricket sort of side of it, and now that you are somewhat of a techie, being involved with a tech company, just keen to get your high level thoughts on kind of obviously what the future looks like potentially with technology. And kind of we see like obviously that being quite valuable in the sporting world, or even doesn't even need to be within sports. So what's your thoughts around that?
Well, I think like obviously we're at a quite exciting little passage with IT involved with sports, and sort of getting live analytics back on games. Mostly it's sort of focused around live games, but there's still a huge amount of development to be done around getting analytics on training, right? Like, if I'm working on something and I'm at training, and even with all the coaches around, there's still not really any definite data coming back to me about how I went that day. And certainly you don't need to be checking that every day, because of course you're going to have good days and bad days, but just even to give a bowler some knowledge of how they've been training. So in an ideal world, it'd be great to set up a camera at training, film it, and then at the end of the session, I get my pitch map for the day and the speeds that I was bowling. And then, of course, I can assess some videos of the areas or the bowling I thought I did well. And it could just be, on the bus ride home. So I go to training, and then we have an hour bus ride sometimes overseas. Just have a look. How did I go today? good or bad, or I worked on Yorkers for 3 overs maybe at the end. How many were actually in the Yorker zone? How much did I miss by? And then, okay, sweet. I can go, today I trained well, got a B, A, whatever, or today was actually pretty poor. Why was that? And then, as a cricketer, you can develop so much faster. So I think it's exciting with 5G, obviously, sort of popping up around the world now and going to become far more normal. Different devices. Every device has kind of got a camera now. You've got your wearables, of course, your watch, measure heart rate, work rate. There's just so much opportunity to add IT to cricket in general, but of course, like the training aspect and trying to improve yourself more quickly. So I think, in an ideal world, I'd love to sort of see that at trainings and get immediate feedback. And I think there'd be a lot of other players who would love just sort of feedback, but directed to them and perhaps what they are working on that day. So exciting times. And I certainly think with devices getting cheaper and being able to do more, of course, is going to be more accessible for everyone.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I think you nailed it on the head there. It's all about kind of getting those insights, but also getting that immediate feedback. And even if it's kind of as you're actually in the middle of that over and actually getting that kind of instant feedback about how you're performing and kind of so you can adjust on the fly. I think it's going to be pretty valuable moving forward because kind of gives you a bit of an ability to kind of be able to refine those plans and those deliveries that you're trying to work on. That's cool, man. Well, that's kind of it for me, obviously, in regards to the questions I kind of have. I know,
All the easy questions. Yeah, thanks for that, bro. Appreciate bringing up some dark memories.
No, that's all right, man. No, you did well. I think the key thing is we're gonna probably do a bit of a session down in the nets, aren't we? Like, is that the plan next?
So I'm back bowling, but I think we'll use you as a bit of a test dummy to talk through. We're going to talk through your action, number one, which needs some tweaking, but it's pretty good. But I think the tweaking is more around sort of trying to be safer while you bowl. So let's try to reduce stress on your back and give you some understanding of what that looks like. But certainly not a huge amount of work needed. But then I think it's a really good opportunity for us to start looking at level 1, level 2, level 3 in terms of intensity with bowling. And as I'm building up my bowling loads and talk about it on the show, people will start to get an understanding, okay, that's level 1, that intensity is level 2, that's level 3. And then when we talk about bowling loads, gives some people some understanding. We'll run through that down the nets. Hopefully it's another lovely day. And then we'll go through there and see what sort of speeds you're pumping out that week. And then, I might even have a little bowl on it myself.
That sounds good, mate. All right, well, I'm really looking forward to that anyway, and thanks for your time today. It was good fun to kind of get to know you a little bit more. Mate, we'll close it up then, and we'll show some of the viewers some of the videos of our session down at the nets. But anyway, have a good rest of the hour.
Yeah, see you guys. Cheers.
Cheers, fella. See you, mate.
Once again, guys, go ahead and click that subscribe button. I know Mitch needs all the support he can get. And of course, if there's anything you want to know, whether it's the gym program, the bowling loads, or even some of the tips I'm giving Mitch to try and increase his pace, then please do comment below. We'd love to hear from you. But otherwise, make sure you give him a lot of support. The old boy's certainly going to need it.